Hello, everybody. I'm here with Norgus.
Hey, hello.
Welcome in, everybody.
Good evening. I'm so used to saying good morning that now I gotta
Yep,
say evening.
it's evening now, and I might stay so far. Only two people. I put a poll on my community tab if everybody wanted me to stay at this time, and I do have two viewers that voted for. So 100% of the people that voted, but it's only two people so far, voted for me to stay at this earlier time.
Oh, really? Like about the 9 o'clock time frame?
Yeah, because it's so late before I start at, it's not late here. It's 8 o'clock here, but it's 10 p.m. in on your coast. So it's late for people on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And then it's funny because I have a friend who was watching, who went to Germany, and before I was on too late, and he would pop in and say hi, and then he would go because he's an early bird person, right? So now he's in Germany, and I interviewed him. AJ is road tripping, so now he's in Germany, and it's early in the morning there right now. And so I interviewed him, and I didn't even change the time for him. He just got up really early. And I interviewed him before he went into work.
Well, that's good.
So, yeah.
I forget sometimes all these different time zones.
Yeah. And it was really confusing when I was traveling around in my RV, because I was trying to go live at the same time and sometimes I would set it up wrong, and some, like Kenneth, I would always go live with Kenneth, and Kenneth would be like, wait, did you mean to set this at? Because I would set it at the wrong time. And because I would get so confused. And my computer is always on Pacific time.
Yeah.
So it's just been on since I bought it over there on the East Coast. It's been on Pacific time. So hello, everybody coming in. I'm Redheaded Riding Hood, Red for short. This is my friend Norgus R. I'm going to put her.
And that's Derek. That's in the chat.
Oh, is this Derek?
Yes.
Hello. Welcome in. Thank you for being here, everybody. Anthony's here. Norgus is here in the chat.
Hey, there's Grayscale.
Ronald,
Hey, Tony.
Ronald, are you still here? Ronald, your winnings are on the way to you. I mailed it out. And so I'm going to be looking to see if any of my top fans pop in. Hello, Anthony. Hello. Welcome. So when did you start your channel?
I started mine about maybe 4 years ago. Let me see. Yeah. Does it tell when it started?
Yeah, usually if you go to your about page, it does. Mine started, I started.
Okay. 2016's.
Oh, really?
Well,
Uh-huh.
I guess so. But I did not know I was on that long.
Mine is 2016, but I didn't really start making that many videos, and I changed it. I had other channels I deleted. See, my subscribers are going steadily up. Thank you guys for subscribing and for watching. I just did a little video the other day on eating my leftover Chinese food, and I had went to church, and I had met someone, and met some new people. I'm pulling up my YouTube side. Sorry. So I just did a little video of eating my Chinese food, my leftover Chinese food, and it shot up to 2,000. And I was just like, wow, that was
I
crazy.
I think I did this when Casey started doing the Porch Church Network, because going through the disability stuff, the attorney told me I couldn't have social media. Well, number one, I'm a very sociable person.
Why did they
And
say that?
look, I got on makeup right now. I'm sitting in this chair. So they could say, well, if you're able to sit there in that chair, then you could be working. That's just how it is. They try to find whatever reason where, even if the doctors say you can no longer work a regular job. But that was her for it. And then my sister told me, well, do one under Norgus. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So that's how I did this, did that. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll sign in under that and that. So it's crazy because what they don't see is if I sit for too long, they don't see me trying to get out of the chair. Oh, Gary said I met the best crew ever. Right? I know. But, it's kind of what you see. You want to be yourself, and I am, but you can't tell by looking at somebody how their mental state is. Well, if they have mental breakdown on, and that crazy, but you don't know how they're feeling. You don't know if somebody's back is hurting them so bad and they can't sit still.
Yeah.
Or when the cameras are off and I might be FaceTiming afterwards and me trying to, get up out of this chair. Derek knows, and those that's ever been on the backside flip side with me, they know. But when you go live, you give out everything because you're happy, to be around people. But
yeah, they talk about that on Van Life Voyages, the hidden, because she has, well, Derek is obviously disabled because he's in a wheelchair, but Tanya has something, and I won't say it because I don't know
yeah,
the word for it. I can't remember, but she has like a hidden disability, and like they talk about that on their channel. But yeah.
well, see, Derek's legally blind as well. And this ain't talking about you, Derek, but so we all have something. I met Tracy because of her disability. There's Monique.
Hi. Hi, welcome to Reds. Good to have you here.
So we all kind of met this way. And I'm not always put together because I have went live from the bed. I've went live, every which way. And I'm like, does a judge really want me? Because he said I could be a sitter to sit with elderly or something. And I was thinking one day, because I went 5 years of struggling with all that that you have to go through. But I was like, does he really want me to sit with his mom all day when I can't even hardly get up myself? But you get a lot of flack. It's sort of like if you get and we did this ain't about health, you guys, not supposed to be. But like Derek, there was somebody parked in a handicap, wasn't even in the handicap, and he was trying to get out of his vehicle, and they were parked too close. Oh, there's Jen Ricky. Hey. And so you can't tell by just looking at somebody when they get out and they're parked in handicap. You might think, well, don't look like nothing's wrong with them.
Yeah, you can't tell.
All right. All right. So Ronald
Hi, Ronald.
Hi, nice to meet you, Ronald. And now I can go to his channel.
Mm-hmm.
And how are you doing? I can go ahead and sub to him. Monique, what time is it? Monique's in, look, I'm having fibro fog really bad. I always say, the Netherlands. That's where Monique's from.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. So, Monique, I was talking about you today to Casey. I said, yeah, sometimes Monique would be speaking Dutch. I said, and I can't speak Dutch, but sometimes I know if she's ill about something. But just let everybody know, Tracy did have her first, she had her first injection. That's what we did the fundraiser for.
Okay.
Uh,
I missed that.
so she had her sister-in-law helped her set up a GoFundMe page for
Mm-hmm.
to get the injections, and that's how I met Tracy. Somehow I come across her channel,
Uh-huh.
and she did a thing about somebody being rude, running into her, hitting her with the buggy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
There's Denise.
we.
Hello.
Oh, and today would have been her husband's birthday.
Oh, really?
So it's his birthday in heaven anyway. Yeah, I have a map beside me, and I stick a pin in all the places.
That's cool.
There is Denise. Mr. Chicken says hi. Tell Mr. Chicken I said hello.
There's two Denises, though. Which are they both her or which?
Right. No, Denise. Anything is possible. I call her Denise A.
Oh, Denise A.
Yeah, and then Denise Caines is one that's on my panel.
Yeah. Okay. I thought that was her. I wasn't sure. Now you're getting me confused. But yeah, I was really encouraged at your lives, and I was scared. I guess you're scared to share things you're going through because like people will judge you or what, and y'all made me feel comfortable because it's hard to say like my kids aren't I'm not in contact with my kids because then people start thinking like, well, what did you do to them?
Yes.
And you don't want to say, but I felt comfortable, and then y'all praying, and then I was just so excited, and I think it was just that you could see that I was turning a corner. I almost needed that time alone. I needed a little bit of time alone in my RV and thinking and traveling around. And I went to California and helped my sister-in-law when she was at the end of her life. Hey, Lori. Hi, welcome in.
And those of you guys that I don't know, I'll check out your channels. I've got it pulled up, and I'll go ahead and show you some love, and then I'll go back and check out the channel and everything. So, but I'm reading. Look, sometimes I just stop.
Mm-hmm.
But see, I remember how with Monique, it was a really personal discussion one day, and about our childhoods or something, and it ended up being nobody on but me and Monique because I'd been on for a long time, but I didn't care. We just went back and forth. Oh, there's Casey. He's
Hey.
Porch Church.
Hello.
Hey, bub. Thank
Thank
you,
you, Denise.
Look, Denise, I did. I threw on some makeup.
Yeah, she was putting on her makeup, and I'm like, I better go freshen up my makeup. Ran out to the DMV. Oh my goodness, it's just been it's been one thing or another with my car. It still had Missouri plate, temporary plate that expired in July on it.
Yeah, Casey had to do all that when
My
he
goodness.
moved. Thank you, Denise. These are new. These are my new glasses. Shows you how long it's been since I've come live.
So I keep sending the title back and forth. They sent the title there, and then I think maybe a letter went to my son's house because when I bought the car in Missouri, in the St. Louis area, I used my son's address because I was, coming here, about to come here. And so I think they've been sending the letters there because they're like, they don't forward them. They said the government doesn't forward government mail, I guess.
Yeah, Casey was looking for something to come in, and he'd already changed everything to up there in New Hampshire, and it came here. And so I told him I got some money here, and he was like, doggone it, But yeah, you end up meeting people that it took a while for me to share. The first time Casey ever asked me something on, just asked me a question when he was doing Porch Church. And after we finished that day, I bust out crying, Mom, what's wrong? And it's because I wasn't used to openly talking. Believe it or not, you guys, I wasn't. And so even now, Monique knows, and most of you that's here will recognize if I ever get into something that's really hard for me to talk about, we pick and choose our words, Red. And you know that because you would never want anything to hurt one of your kids if they come across it. You want to be mindful of how you say stuff. So I would find myself a lot looking down, and I still do my hands a lot if I'm talking about something that's kind of uncomfortable. And these glasses were supposed to not be, they're supposed to be where stuff don't glare. But, it was hard. And then what I went through, like Tiffany's journey, that I did finally open up about because my sister told me, she said, you have people that you can talk to. She said, don't hold everything in. She said, tell your story. It's your story too of what you're going through. So when I started opening up about what I was going through with Tiffany, and pretty much the grandkids, one in one state and one in the other, I was still very mindful because you don't know who's going to come across it. When you open up.
Yeah, that was my concern too.
Mm-hmm. So it was hard to start with because, like you said, people would wonder, well, why is your daughter not talking to you, or why aren't you getting to see your grandkids? And that's still something that I cry about almost daily.
And I couldn't talk about it with my own family. Like my brother didn't understand. And now things aren't, because I had to leave his place, and things aren't very good with him. But anyways, I'm praying for him, but I couldn't talk about it with him, and he didn't understand.
Yeah.
And he would throw it up in my face too. So I couldn't talk about it with him.
Yeah.
Now all of the, like I don't talk to him like every day, but so now my middle daughter contacted me, who had just had my first grandbaby, And this is what a Christian friend said to me in Georgia. She said to me, she said, they're gonna be more loving. They're gonna understand you better and be more loving when they have their own kids. They're gonna understand where you're coming from. And so that is kind of what happened with Claire. And so she contacted, and it was right after, you guys were praying, and you remember when all that happened. You guys were praying, and I had just come here to Denver, and she just texted me one day, and I just like cried.
And it's so exciting because, that was a prayer answered. And we know God answers prayers, but,
And then my youngest contacted me, and I guess it was September or October. And then at first it was, there's a situation with her husband, and at first something happened, but then she contacted me again.
Monique said, we were right there praying. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And there is fruit. I talked to Monique and them about not feeling like I've done, just what God has called me to do. And I felt like I wasn't fruitful is what I told them. But then when you say that was an answered prayer. So that is the fruit of our prayers. That's when he shows you that, yes, he makes those promises.
Mm-hmm.
Denise was on with us one day, and I had her husband would always say, "Hey, honey," and I'd say, "Hey, honey," and we had been off the air for not even hardly an hour. And then Casey come in here and he said, "Mom, Denise needs to talk to you." And her husband passed away. I mean, the very day, and it was like, I'm like, but just a couple hours ago, we just spoke to each other. So that was real traumatic too.
Wow.
That he was taken the way he was, and like I told Derek, we never know. We never know when our last time's going to be.
Yeah, that's true.
And and I believe in remission. Like I told Derek earlier, we're not milk. We don't have an expiration date that we know of. And God can. He's had people be in remission for years and years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, so today I even shed tears today. I kind of a little bit choked up when I was talking to Casey, and I try not to be the crying mama every time he FaceTimes with me. But then when me and Tiffany were talking, and we got talking about my granddaughter, and I said, well, I said I don't. I said, Tiffany, I try not to put that on you and your dad when I'm really sad, because Tiffany will feel guilty, because of how things happen, but Keelan handles his grief different too. But the girls when we FaceTime, they have helped me a lot. They have seen my snotty cries and all that, and it does hurt, and it might not be anything we done.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you get judged.
Yeah. I've been thinking about it a lot and talking to a therapist, although I don't feel like I got the right therapist. I tried with BetterHelp again because she was very, very negative. But I'm probably going to talk, because I'm only not talking to my oldest child now. So
Yeah.
but we'll see. But it's not I know it's not going to be the same. And I know, and I know too, you were saying sometimes it's not anything we done. I know that I did things and I responded badly to her behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she hurt me, and then you get angry and you're like, well, I'm going to hurt you back, and
Yeah, it's sort of.
respond badly. And so, I did that, and I know I wasn't a perfect mom. There are no perfect moms.
Mm-hmm.
I know I made mistakes. But the thing is can we forgive each other?
Yeah.
Can we forgive each other? So, yeah.
Well, and the kids know what I went through, with my mom, and I've always been a journalist. I'm
Journal.
yeah,
Yeah,
from
me too.
1976. I was a sixth grader. I got my first
Wow.
diary. I got my first diary. Pink
You've
diary.
been journaling longer than me then.
Yeah, so
A little
I
bit
was
longer.
putting things in order, putting them in chronic whatever order. Casey's probably laughing because he knows I can't say some words. And I was, looking back through some of my most troubled times, and there was a thing in there about me and mom going to church. I'm like, I don't remember going to church with mom that much when I was 18, or that I missed the closeness because me and my mom, I don't remember being close to my mom, but it was like reading these things. I'm like, but that ain't how I remembered it, until I got to reading back. And maybe it was meant for me to go back through those and read. So I could see what was going on during those times. And I will say this, that during the time that I would make my biggest mistakes and let my guard down would be when I was not walking the walk that God close to him. He was always there with me because a lot of worse things could have happened. Very much. But he was always, he never left me. So, I talked to my mom, and you do have to give that forgiveness. You have to think of them as an individual.
Yeah, I had to do that with my dad. My dad was the person that I needed to forgive. And my mom was she was the better example. I mean, but again, not perfect.
Yeah.
She made a lot of mistakes. And I feel like my two siblings that are left, I'm the youngest of 7, are still angry at our parents. They're still angry. And I feel like that's why they're miserable.
And, my oldest sister said, well, the other sister needs to forgive our mom. And I'm like, that's not for me to say. That is an individual. That is just something for her to do herself. No, I'm not going to call and tell her you need to call. No. And I told my oldest sister, I said, you don't understand. What if, mom's been in one of those moods and Sandra did decide to call her, to reach out to her. I said, and then she gets hurt again. Because my mom does have that. She's by something. I don't know. You never know what you well, she's something, and she's always has been. So, that's a personal journey that it took me a long time.
Yeah.
And, I have things with me that I felt guilty for. And yes, money 7 times 70. And, if you try to count that up, you would stop trying to, figure it out. And I think that's why it's in the Bible, just.
And I did a blog post on that, on praying for your enemies. It got me in big trouble because, well, not that part of it, but the part where I joked.
Yeah.
I joked about, oh yeah, I'll pray for my enemies. I'll pray for him to die. And I was kidding, but it was a bad joke. I shouldn't have said it. It was a bad joke. And that's how the bully made his second live all about me, because I said that. And then I took when I found out he had read my blog, because he came into a channel where I was moderating and mentioned it like someone was trying, like he said it like someone was trying to kill him, he brought it up. He was trying to get me unmoderated from that channel. I got unmoderated from other channels because of him. But I didn't get unmoderated from that channel, thankfully. And but anyways, when he did that, I took the thing down. But then like a month later, he makes this live saying like I'm a dangerous person.
Well, we used to, when my mother-in-law, Mama, was still alive, we would say all kind of things, and somebody was going to use that against Casey one time. Well, if I'll just tell your mama that you said this or that, and I'm like, we've all been, we have this warped sense of humor,
Yeah,
and,
that's what my sense of humor was, and it got me in big trouble.
And I said, Mama knew, people that knew us, that really knew us, would know that me and Casey would never cut Mama's oxygen off and all this crazy stuff,
Oh my goodness.
And it's just,
I could tell stories about that. My mom was on oxygen the last 10 years of her life. Yeah.
So, I mean, people could make stuff out of anything. And that's why I try to pick and choose. But then sometimes, we just, it's just hard because if you put yourself out here and you open yourself up to, this is who I am, not everybody is going to be accepting, or everybody,
That's right. Yeah, I realized something yesterday, and I did a little Instagram post on it. And hey, do you can you find Norgus's link and drop it, Lori? Because I made you a mod. So yeah, I did this little blog post, and it was about like how I felt like God was guiding me, and I felt like I get so upset, and I know like I talk about it, and people know that it is still there a little bit. I talk about the bully, but I realized, because I was talking about God leading me to the church, the church I found here, and then there's this Chinese restaurant right down the street, and I felt like God led me here to Denver to be near my son, and that things didn't work out for me to be near my brother in California, and it's too expensive in California, and he didn't want me there. And plus he was saying he hates it there now. He loved California before, and because we moved to Florida when he was 15 and I was 12, and oh, I like that. That's great, Monique.
Thank you.
Yeah, relax.
Colorado.
Take care of all your problems. Yeah. And even I was so mad at God because all my kids weren't talking to me, and I was so depressed, and I had to stop doing Airbnb because these Airbnb people were driving me up the wall. I had a couple of bad, I had a lot of good tenants, a good Airbnb guests. I had a lot of great Airbnb guests, but at the end, I had a lot of bad Airbnb guests, and I had the green card guy, and then there wasn't really anything I could do about the green card guy. I tried to report him, but they don't want to know about someone who's trying to find someone to marry. They just want to know about illegal, marriage, fake marriages. Yeah. Hello, Shay, right? So I couldn't do anything but blog about him, and I blogged about him, and then I was afraid. Then he called me then he did call me to scare me, I felt like. And then I kept getting all these men up in Atlanta booking, and you know, and I knew like the devil was like attacking my brain. It's like he's going to send somebody to kill you. And so you know, I was freaking out about that. So I stopped doing Airbnb in
What is that? What's that you're talking about?
it's where you rent out rooms on your in your house on online. It's a site, Airbnb. It's like
Okay.
it's like Vermo. How do you say that? VR. It's vacation rentals, but it's anything. It's like I would have people on their way to Disney because I was in, you know, middle Georgia on the way from people up north going to Disney. People coming to Warner Robins at Air Force Town to work.
Yeah.
People, I had longer term guests, some that were really good and some that were not.
Yeah.
Longer term guests who were working in the area. Hello, Diane Phoenix. How are you? So yeah, I would have all sorts of people, you know, people just staying for one night, people working. I had my last two long-term guests were awesome. One was a college student. She was going to nursing school. I had nurses, traveling nurses that were in the area just to work for a week or two or something like that. I think it was usually a week. I had regular guests. I had a regular guest who was a nurse from Alabama who would come and stay at my Airbnb, and she loved my cupcakes because I would make the red velvet cupcakes and carrot cupcakes. And so, yeah. So anyways, I stopped doing Airbnb. It was 2019, and most of my kids that were left in Georgia, there were 3 of them left in Georgia, weren't hardly talking to me. So it was very, very depressing. And God really gave me that plan to sell the house and travel around in the RV to decide where I wanted to settle.
You know, I'd even told the girls sometimes, I'm like, whenever I felt like, well, if I would have went ahead at that time, when Tiffany still had both kids, if I'd opened up the house and let them move in, but, you know, which I'd done over and over, but there was a point that it was like, God just shut my mouth. He was like, and that was hard. So over these years, I have felt sometimes, and I've talked to the girls about it, and I've talked to Casey about, well, if I had have let her stay, but no, they, you know, and it's not that they shut me down. They just let me know, no, you had to do what you did, or, you know, or Tiffany wouldn't have got help. She wouldn't, it would have been the same thing. But it's so hard looking back and like, well, if I had have done this or this.
Yeah, and I do that to myself too.
Yeah. So I'm having to deal with loving my granddaughter's family when I start feeling angry. You know, because it takes nothing to FaceTime. And the way we're being treated, I have to do a lot of praying about that. And and because, you know, God, he gave me the promise of what is going to be, and we're having to wait on his time. And just like, you know, Tiffany said, we're having to wait on his time limit. And so it's hard, and I have to continue to pray that I don't let bitterness and anger just build in me.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I have to pray it every day. I have
yeah,
to pray it every day. And I found out, like, I was talking about when I went away from God, I got mad at God, and it makes absolutely no sense. When I think about it now, of course, it didn't make any sense, but of course, it doesn't make any sense now. But here I'm upset that my kids aren't talking to me, so like I'm going to stop talking to God. How does that make any sense? But anyways, I was away from him, but he was like with me the whole time. I could see, and then my plan worked out because I just like, there were times when I thought that the house would be under contract and then it would fall through, and then it would be under, I think it was like the third time finally that it went through. And an investor who didn't even see the house in person in Israel bought my house in Georgia.
wow.
Yeah. And then
Well,
my
I mean,
dad passed away the day before I left Georgia. My dad, he was in California, passed away. He was 92. The day before I left Georgia, my sister-in-law wasn't doing so well, and I had not been talking to them, and then I was talking to them. And hi, Derek's journey. And just like things just it fell into place, and I knew I was being stubborn, and I was just angry. That's what I
yeah,
realized now. A lot of times I was angry, and that's what I realized with the people that I'm out with is, I need to forgive them because, they're angry. They have things that they're angry about, and they're hurt people. That's true. And yeah. Yeah.
Jordan.
Excuses.
You know, I tell Tiffany, I've always said this, and I've said it all my life, is an idle brain is, I said, the devil's playground. If we don't have the right stuff
Yeah.
in our
In our head.
heads, then the devil will the whisper things, and so I had told this to Denise, because sometimes I go shopping with Denise in Walmart or Kroger. We FaceTime, walk around in the grocery store while she's on FaceTime with me. But
Mhm.
there's sometimes I have felt like, well, if I just could shut off my feelings and just realize that I'm not going to um oh, okay. You're all right. So Keeping Up with Colorado's about to leave, or
Um, anything is possible. Diane went. I missed it. It was
Denise?
a little bit back.
Yeah.
I don't know if.
Okay.
Good night if you're still here, Denise.
But when I thought, well, I'll just cut my feelings off and I won't even think about it. But no, as soon as I felt that or I thought that, the Spirit let me know that God gave me the promise that my granddaughter is going to be in church with me. I don't know when, but I've got to stand on that promise. Because if I shut my feelings off, that's me saying that God doesn't keep his promise. That was just the devil trying to defeat me and push me down and, just keep me down. And I talked to Tiffany about it today. I said, God has shown me time after time that my granddaughter is going to be standing by me in church, and it's going to be in his time. And that's one of the things that's really been hard for Tiffany, that, like we talked about today, she said if it were not for God being with her and reminding her in his time, she will be seeing her daughter again that she wouldn't want to go on.
Mm-hmm.
But my grandson, he's in just over, he's about 10 minutes up well, a little bit more than that. But because Alabama and Georgia, we live right on the line.
Oh,
But
really?
he got to send his mama a updated picture of his little sister that's in Florida, and sent that to his mom and said, I want to let you know I talked to her, and she asked about you, and I told her that you love her and you think about her all the time. And, Tiffany got teared up today. We both did, talking about it. She said, that was the best Christmas present I ever could have had, Mom. That God let me know that there's a way that he let me know that my son let his sister know that I'm thinking of her, that I love her. So,
Uh-oh, I'm having a connection problem. I don't know. Am I still on? Everybody can still
you
hear
are,
me,
yeah,
right?
you are.
Yeah.
But so, Tiffany said, and I told you, Mom, I was excited, and you said, just send it to me. I said, well, because I have to look at that stuff, because I try not to get overly emotional with you and your dad. I said, so the things when it's got to do with my granddaughter, I have to share it with somebody else. Because Kevin has his feelings, and Tiffany, I have to wait until we come to a time that she can talk about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
So when I come
Well, I
across,
had to get to the place where I could talk about it. And see, that's where you guys came along right at the point when I was ready to talk about it.
mm-hmm,
And some other channels like really helped me before I found your channel. I think I found you through Diana Brienne
mm-hmm.
Fairchild. Um, yeah, some other channels like Triple C and the Terrence Trower, what's it called? I'm still members of their channel. So they kind of helped me along, but I really feel like I didn't relate to them as well because they're a lot younger. They're like my kids, my oldest child's
Yeah.
ages. So, but they were really helpful, like in the interim until I found your channel.
And God will, I say he guides our steps, just
Mhm.
like when I walked into that church that I did, and I know that's where he wanted me to be. And it's the same way with people we find on YouTube, or he
Yeah.
can guide your step to run into somebody at Walmart, or
Yeah. And when I was thinking about the the guiding yesterday, I thought like he meant to guide me away from the group of people I was with because they were not good for me.
yeah,
So, I need to quit like complaining about it, but yeah, but it still is ongoing and I'm still praying for them too. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I had to step away from channels, um, and then I got to where I wasn't on YouTube any, like, late at night. But sometimes you do, because I have went to a channel, and if it's really, really messy, I will just back out. Or if there's something going on that goes against against the spirit, I just back out. I back on out. I Yes, Monique said you get contaminated with what you hang out with, for sure, and that's
Yeah.
true. And
Yeah.
and it doesn't
I
mean,
did, and I wouldn't have gotten so enmeshed with those people had I not been away. I was not with God. I was not in a good place. I was backslidden, And I look back now and I was like, oh yeah, old me, because I was, super, over the top goody goody and legalistic, and I wouldn't even been hanging around them.
I mean,
Honestly, not to be like, but
yeah, and you might not to start with see the whole picture, but she said you learn. It's okay because you learn, and you do.
yeah.
And I've had to back away from people before, and it don't mean it's easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had to back away from family, just like the whole thing
Oh
with
yeah.
fractured family.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
back
I've
away
had to do
sometimes.
that too.
And I've lost 3 brothers,
Yeah.
and,
I lost 4 brothers. I can understand that.
and the one that was 2 years younger than me, he was the last one, to go, and he died of pancreatic cancer. But see, I never could be around him a lot because he took on a lot of, like, my mom and dad's personalities, and I couldn't be around him much. It don't mean I didn't love him, and
Mm,
now
yeah.
I
That's the
think
way
that,
my brother is.
yeah, and I think of the good stuff, I think of the funny stuff about him, but, you know, we can't God does not say we have to keep
That's
entertaining
true.
toxic people, because there are toxic people out there,
Yeah.
and we can love them. And, I call my mom now and everything, but now if she starts being the way she is, I can just hang up, or I can just
Yeah.
get in the car and leave, or
Hey, Mom, I gotta go.
yeah,
Because my mom would be difficult sometimes, and I don't know why this is, but especially she would be difficult about. I felt like she was critiquing everything when she came to my house, and I think because like I was the first one to have kids, um, you know, she would critique my parenting and compare it to her parenting or something like that, and my cooking, and I just felt under the microscope. I felt like just judged and, not measuring up when she came to my house. And so it was hard, but I was really glad that I made peace with her and we sort of I talked to her about it, and we made peace with each other because then she passed away in 2009. So
well, and that's, you know,
you're welcome, Ronald. Um,
it's I look at it the way God showed me, and I have to look at that with different people. Is God finally let me know, because I've seen every one of my loved ones that have passed on. I dream, and my sister said, she said, "Well, I don't dream about none of them. Why can't I dream about them?" But I
mm,
always see them in their glorified bodies. I don't see them in their uh, them being sick. I see my dad
mhm.
whole, and so God just let me know one day. He just let me know, you're going to see your mom with her glorified face.
Yeah. I
Because,
wrote about it. I didn't dream it, actually. I talk about it when I wrote about it, um, as if it was a dream, but I didn't really dream it. I really just wrote it, picturing my mom in heaven. And it was
yeah,
just like sort of healing for me. And
yeah,
then I got to talk to her. It was when my dad sold her house and I wasn't ready for him to sell the house. And to make matters worse, he took my brother's ashes and my mom's ashes and put them in the garden and then sold the house and left. And it's like, and I'm over here in Georgia and I can't do anything about it. I'm like, gee, thanks, Dad. And then they redecorated. He sold it to his pastor, but he said oh, he's like, it's like a different house. It's all totally redecorated. And, he's saying all this and I'm there just listening to him, not saying anything, just tears running down my face. And I'm like, that's great, Dad. What am I going to say?
Yeah.
And he just didn't realize, how I felt about that. And so that's why my dream is like that in heaven, and I don't know how it's going to be. I was just imagining it. In heaven are all these places, where you lived before and you can go. And my mom wasn't ever able to go to Europe, as an adult. She was born in the Philippines. Yeah, she wasn't ever able to go to Europe, and she wanted to. So in my dream, like she's talking about, she went with her dad and went to Europe, and that like heaven's like a world like ours, only without all the bad stuff,
Yeah.
And she loved her house in California. I wanted to look into buying it, and then my mom. Guess where my mom and dad's pastor is from? She's from Alabama. She went back to Alabama. She sold the house, and I wasn't ready to buy it at that time. And it's like, if she could have waited a little bit longer, and I got the money from my dad. And that was just such a blessing too. And that I really feel was God also, because I didn't think, I didn't know how much he had. I didn't think I was still in contact with him, but just not very often. And I wrote to him first. I saw him in 2018 though, when I went there. Every time I went to California, I saw him. But yeah, I didn't know. That was really such a blessing. And because of my sister being in charge of the will, and because of a lot of things, I didn't think I was going to be getting anything from my dad for several different reasons. And I didn't know he had that much. So it was really a blessing. And I really feel like it was God.
Yeah. And me and Tiff talked about this today. I said, we don't know what somebody's struggling with. I said, because I told her, I said, what kind of like what you're going through now is what I went through as a teenager, because now I've been married since I was 19. And I'm 59. And wait, I'll be 59 this year. Yeah. So I've been married, most of my life. I said, so I haven't had to do the dating stuff. I said, but
I had no idea.
She
I
said,
hadn't really dated either.
hurting people will tend to hurt other people.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, I seen a lot when I was reading back when I was a teenager and all. I said, I did see where I guess I could have hurt people, not intentionally, because somebody might like you, and then you like them for a little bit, and then you go about your business and you like somebody else. And I said, but I was going through that as a teenager. I can't imagine. She said, oh, Mom, dating's awful. And I said, I couldn't imagine now.
Mm-hmm.
I said, oh.
Yeah, that's another thing I was angry about. I was angry about the green card guy. I totally fell for him, but then I realized it was all fake. But before that, I was date raped too. And I was just like, all this is not fair, God. And sometimes life is not fair. Jesus said, in the world you'll have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. And so yeah, the dating, I was so clueless. I went to this man's house, and I didn't even call it that at first. He was a cop. A cop. I didn't even call it that at first.
Yeah.
Because, I went to his house. I felt bad. It was my fault. But he said I could sleep in the spare room. And, I didn't sleep in the spare room.
Yeah.
But I went to bed, seriously, with all my clothes on. And he just kept waking me up.
So so when we're hurt, I always have tried to figure out somebody. I guess from growing up the way I did. I'd always try to figure out, why does mom say this about me or that about me, or why did this happen, or why did all that? So you're right. And it's like they said, we will have trouble in this world. But I always try to figure out why somebody does something. And, so I guess so I wouldn't judge so harshly. Um, but And that's the whole point of how Red, I guess, come in about the time we start talking about families, you know, fractured families, as I call it, because, um, there were several of us that don't get to see our grandkids. And, so then I noticed the trend that, okay, God put us together because we all feel the same. And it's a pain, a heart pain of not getting to be around those that we love.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard, but it's sort of like with disabilities or whatever. You kind of find people that understand what you're going through. And, so they don't judge you if you're hurting, or I'm trying to, put that the right way. But it's the same way with how he will bring people together. He'll bring us together when we are hurting, and somebody else understands.
Yes. Yes, he will. He never promised it would be easy, but he promised to be with us always. And yeah, that's what I felt when I realized, and I came back to God on September 7th, 2021. And, I just realized like he's been there the whole time. And like I'm finally watching The Chosen. Like Diane had told me
Oh, yes.
to watch The Chosen. And but I also knew that, and there was a song I loved too about the one sheep that goes astray. And now I'm like, I was that sheep, and he came and got me. He left the 99 and he came and got me and brought me back. And that was another thing. I was just so mad. And you think like the devil tells you, well, God must not care about you because look, this happened to you and this happened to you. You get the day rape and the green card guy, and your kids aren't talking to you, and now you're getting all these lousy Airbnb guests who are giving you bad reviews. Yes, it's very good, Diane. I always also it was when I was mentioning that movie Risen. The movie Risen is very good, and
Yeah.
it's like The Chosen. I feel like because it doesn't show them, because they weren't like that. They weren't like the religious leaders, like even the religious leaders of this day. Jesus wasn't like them. He was nice. Just to be frank, he was lighthearted, and he was fun, and he was nice. And the movie Risen is like that too.
Oh, yeah. But we all we're walking the same path, most of us, and some people can internalize, and God's there for us all the time. Because I'm trying not to be so chatty to my to Tiffany and my husband, because they're not chatty. They're not chatty. Tiffany has to have something to say. My daughter, oldest daughter, she has to have something to say before she can say it. Me, I just talk all the time. And so when Casey left, I didn't realize it. And I told him, I said, you done moved away and left me with your daddy and your daddy. I said, because they're just alike. And you done up and left. And you left me here with two people that don't like chitter chatter. And when I come on here and um I
So
get
your son is more like you.
yes, yes. So when I FaceTime or whenever I do this every day like I was doing, it gave that energy, that chattiness out there, because I don't do really well internalizing things. And then I
It's not
haven't,
good for you. Like they say, if you're in a program, we're only as sick as our secrets. It's not good to hold it in,
yeah,
you know? And that's why I have decided, although it's just like I've been going back and forth with God on it for months now. That's why I've decided to talk to my child that I'm not talking to.
yeah.
But yeah, definitely just going to be praying over that whole thing, and you know, oh, what to say, what not to say, how to say it, but just to get the truth. Just like there's things I don't think she understands, like about what I went through and what happened to me, because we weren't like, I'm just like totally out of the loop here. Like none of you guys are talking to me. I don't know what the
Yeah.
heck you guys are doing. I don't. I even did a video recently, because when I went through the things with the bully, the bully and the bully's ex they were stalking me. I mean,
Yeah.
they were going around, they were following me around from live to live, and they were stalking me. And then I had her blocked, the bully's ex. I had her blocked on Facebook, yet she was bringing up something I was saying on Facebook.
Oh, because
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
people
and I'm
have
like,
a
she's
way.
making fake accounts, and I'm like, okay, let me tell you why I don't make fake accounts. And I made this video like a year ago, because that was when they did the second videos. But I didn't post it until just a little bit recently, because I didn't want to share the stuff about my family. But I shared it recently because it makes sense. Because I don't make fake accounts, because I don't want to be fake, for one. And I feel like I was like, if God wants me to know something, because I wanted to know what was going on with them. And then when I made a fake account, then I go and see that they went somewhere with their dad, and they went on a trip. And even my daughter that I wasn't talking to, the one that I just started talking to, came from Philadelphia and came to Georgia and didn't even see me.
Yeah.
My son here came from Denver, and he saw me, and but I didn't want to know all that. And it's just like, okay, forget it. I'm not doing this anymore.
Well,
So I said
there's
to them, I
sometimes
said, that's why I don't make fake accounts.
there when I went through stuff like with my oldest daughter, which is my stepdaughter, the oldest one.
Mm-hmm.
When we went through going through custody stuff at one point, I had I had a way I could find out things. I had a boss one time said, "Well, I hope you don't ever get mad at me." He said, "Cause or you could be hired as a private detective." Well, I would
I feel like
always
God tells me things that He wants me to know. Like
so
before my daughter told me, Darlene, before my daughter even texted me, I somehow knew she had red hair. I knew it was a girl. Well, I didn't know right away. I bought her a pink unicorn. And then I'm like, I think he had me get her the pink unicorn because it's a girl. And then it was later. And so that's why I said in this video, if God wants me to know something, I find out.
yeah, so I could do that. Well, then um I was the same way with I researched, that's a running joke with my ex son-in-law, which is my grandson's dad. Um, he was staying at my before they got married. My husband let him and Tiffany move into our daycare, which was across street from where we're at now. That was our house. And he was in the shower one time. He had his wallet on the table, and I got his driver's license, and I wrote down all of his information. And, and I stuck it to the refrigerator, and Tiffany's like, "Mom, did you really? You did that? You done a background check on him?" Yeah. I said, in my house, and I said, you bet I did. So see, I'd always do that. I could always find out something, but now God has me in a point, I'm having to wait on him. And so when there'd be times that I'd wonder, well, I wonder this or wonder, no. God tells me, it's like he pops, no, no,
Yeah.
don't go on Facebook trying to research something.
Yeah. You know what I do now? You'll probably think it's silly. It's some people might laugh, but sometimes I will think of something like that, like do this or do that. And I'll be when I have to be like Monique says, yeah, I have to be ready to listen. And I'll think, should I really do this? And I'll say, Siri, flip a coin. And see, it's heads. See, that's funny. Thank you, Siri. It's heads. Heads is no.
So
And
yeah,
I do that because I'll start. I need something. I need something to stop me. You know.
and that's what I
Mm.
needed, because I was like, all right, God, that I'm trying to take the situation out of your hand. Nope. And it's like a pop on the hand. Okay, I'm gonna back out of this, because
Yeah.
in your time, and it will be you. It won't be anything I do, because I seem to mess things up when I, you know, um, ah, and so I have to back out of things sometimes, and I have to say, okay, God, you're ahead of this. I cannot do it. I can't.
I pray before I flip the coin, Monique. You know, it's not the damn coin. It's not the damn coin answering me. Haven't you heard of drawing lots in the Bible? Yeah. God answers all of that too. He's in all of that too, Monique.
So,
Yes, Monique.
but so I have to, and that's the whole point, because sometimes I've made things worse by trying to be in control. And I think a lot of times, us being as women, uh, we feel like we've raised our children, and we feel like we still have to be in control of stuff. So even with Tiffany being an adult, um, living here now, I have had to just keep my mouth shut,
Hmm.
and not say what I'm worried about or what I'm thinking, or and I really have to pray, because I'm like, all these negative things that come to my head, and then I worry. I'm not supposed to worry. I'm supposed to leave it in his hand. And so one day I had all these things going on in my mind and worrying about Tiff. And then she come in there, lay across my bed, and was talking to me. And she hit on there was about four things that I was wanting to talk to her about, but I didn't want to have the talk.
Hmm.
But you guys, when I tell you, that girl laid across the bed, and she touched on every one of those points.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
just let her talk.
Yeah. That happened with my daughter too, because I wasn't really talking. I wasn't really saying things to her because I was afraid. I was afraid of her not talking to me again. And so, but then we FaceTimed and we talked about all of that stuff. And I felt better because I was so afraid. You know, I had to tell her I was so afraid to go see her. She invited me to come see her, but I was so afraid.
I would just
Um,
know. I would know things but I'd have to wait for Tiffany. She'd always call it a Waffle House moment. She said, "Mom, can we go to Waffle House?" I said, "Yeah." And then all these things I was worried about and praying about, then she had spilled the beans at Waffle House. And she said, "Mom, you just know things. You just know things." So I
yeah,
had to really
my
wait.
kids that haven't really accepted that yet, but
And I told her,
yeah.
and I said, "I know these things, Tiff." I said, I was just telling your dad this morning, because when he took me to the doctor this past week, I said, all these things I want to talk to you about. I said, but I had to wait for you to come to me, because it's like this. If I would have just blurted those things out to her, then she probably would have gotten offended, because I told her those things. But when God deals with us deep down, we don't get offended, because how are you going to get offended with Him? So I have to stand back. Now there are the things that I have to be upfront about, but then there's some of those things that I had to just wait. And then I told her, I said, I know. I said, those things were bothering me. I said, but I had to wait. I said, because God had to reveal those. And I said, those, yes, all of our insecurities.
Yes, exactly. And it's
And
not like what I was saying about flipping the coin, Monique, is that I knew it was just sort of like a confirmation. I knew that I shouldn't. I knew there's something like coming to my head that I shouldn't do, like what Darlene was just saying. Should I go on Facebook and do that? Like, and it was just a confirmation.
and I told Tiffany, I said, I know you thought I was mad, but I wasn't mad. I said, but there are some things. She said, Mom, you're so right in everything you were saying, because it's your house, it's your vehicle, and where I go is your business. And I've got to get trust back and all this kind of stuff. And I said, well, Tiffany, for the same thing that you were being, what the devil was using, putting in your heart, I said, you got to understand, in my head, the same enemy was telling me, well, what if she goes back to this, and what if, how do you know where
Oh yeah, the
I
devil
said,
is.
so I said, I had to do a lot of praying about that, and because I knew it was the enemy wanting me to be nervous, wanting me to be upset,
Mm-hmm.
and me not being able to sleep. It affected my health, and I tell Keith, and I can't help that I can't sleep, but I've got so much going on in my head. And so I told Tiffany, I said, that's what I was going through. I said, the devil would like no more than to drag you back out into that life that you were on the street, because I mean, that's what he wants. He wants us to be messed up to where we can't serve God. We can't serve God if our nerves are rattled, and we have all this going on in our head. Um, and that's what I told her. I said it was a battle. Um, I said it's a battle in our minds. And if we don't have the right stuff up in our mind, then it gives him I called it a toehold. And sometimes it's not even a toehold the enemy will get. If he can just put a little seed of doubt about what if. And I was torturing myself that way. Yeah, fear. Fear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when she first come home, after she was in the mission, and some of you might not know the story, but she was homeless for a few years, and then she's been home. February will be a year, but then she was in we call a mission, which is like not just a rehab, but it was a Christ-based mission that she was in for almost a year. Well, I just totally, where did about fear. So, all of that, the stuff that I went through, and during that time, I did not want to. It's like she's home, she's doing good, she's doing what she's supposed to, but what if? And I told her today, I said, if I had it come to me and it was making me not being able to sleep, of, well, what if? What if she don't
Yeah.
come? What if she does? And I said, he tried to do that when you first come home. Well, what if she could go out the front door? What if she goes out the front door? You don't know that she's in that room.
Let me get my Bible.
All right. And right at that time that I was woke up one time and that thought come to my head, I was stronger then. I said, no, not tonight, Satan. No, I'm not going to have those fears every night. I'm not going to do that. So I had to do a lot of praying about that. Well, then I was all right. But then I felt in my soul, in my heart, that she was ready to go on with her life and she's ready for things to advance.
Fear hath torment. That was the verse I was thinking of.
And
it's horrible.
And so I knew that in her heart she's ready to have the court stuff. She ain't even been, they don't even have her doing that. She hadn't been charged with anything, but she hasn't been cleared either, if it makes sense. They can still bring something up, but she's ready to move on with her life.
But God's got all that under control. You know?
And it's going to be in His time.
Yeah.
And that's what we talked about today. And I said, I knew you was going through all that. And I said, but you're about to go into another season. And you needed to be home for a little bit to reconnect with us. But I really believe she's about to get a better job. She'll be staying with a friend of ours, and it's a real good company. Right now, she says she's slinging pizzas, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And that's fine, because that's what she did when she come home. But that's been almost a year. And she interviewed Wednesday. Me and her rode to, it was about an hour and a half away, where she interviewed. But it's more of on the lines of professionalism like she used to do when we worked at a conferencing center. So she will be able to walk into a professional place. And I said, but I feel like there was people that you touched. You fed people. You saw some people.
That's what I always do. I feed people. That's what I say. I feed people is what I do.
And working at a pizza place, I always have orders not picked up.
Jesus fed people.
Yeah. So I said, you had that heart for the people that were homeless in this area. I said, so God used you to do that. She got close to a couple people there and shared her story with some people. I said, that's what God had for you then. But I said, and if you get that job, and which I believe, she come out of the interview and I said, okay, when do you start? She said, Mom, why? Why'd you know? Did you hear something? So I told her, I said, well, look, I said, when you go have to fill out all your paperwork, you know how when you first start a job, you have to sign everything. And it's different than the actual interview. I said, well, look, when you do that, she said, Mom, did you hear something? I said, no, I'm just saying, when you do that, I said, me and you's going to stop by that house and take some pictures. It was an old abandoned 2 or 3 story house, just in a field, it looks like. Grass grown up, windows knocked out. But she said, because I just felt like it, Tiffany, when you walked out. I said, when you walked out of that building, I just knew you had it. She said, well, even if that's not where He wants me to be, Mom, now I know I can do a professional interview.
Yeah. I want to read this about fear that made me think of it. God is love, and all who live in love live in God, and God lives in them. And we live in God, and our love grows more perfect. So we will not be afraid in the day of judgment, but we can face Him with confidence because we live like Jesus here in this world. Such love has no fear. Perfect love expels all fear. If we are afraid, it is for fear of punishment. Fear hath torment. That's what it says in other versions. And this shows that we have not fully experienced His perfect love. We love each other because He loved us first. And if someone says, I love God, but hates his fellow believer, that person is a liar. For if we don't love people we can see, how can we love God who we cannot see?
Yeah. What did it say in the most, the, not the, and um, paraphrasing because I can, oh,
Hey, Graham.
hello. He must be an Australian.
Yes, he's in Australia. Hmm. Yeah, he's telling me all the good places to camp over there. Maybe I'll get there someday. But I want to say my poem about prayer, about the storm before we go. But yeah, that was good. And yeah, I'm glad we started talking about fear because that's a thing with me. I'm finishing up the Joyce Meyer book, Do It Afraid. I talk about a lot about fear on that.
Yeah, because fear will paralyze us.
Yeah,
You know,
and that song I love so much, and it was because like Need to Breathe and Switchfoot were in St. Louis on September 7th, and I felt like that was just such a gift from God. And in the Need to Breathe song that says, "Keep your eyes open, my love," he says, "Don't let the fear become the hate," because like that fear, it's like in the depression too. The fear turns into depression.
yeah,
Also, the fear turns into depression. It's also the anger. The anger turned inward turns into depression, and it's just yeah.
yeah. I have been,
Power and love and a strong mind. That's first 2 Timothy 1:7.
it's like, I have, and I shared this with Liz and Monique and the rest of them. I said, I have felt like I have not been doing what I need to do. And so I tend to hide away in my room. I just tend to shut everything out, and I know better than doing that because I know what it is. And it sounds crazy. Okay, if you know what it is, then why do you do that? But the depression is just something, and that could be a whole other, thing to talk on, but it's not
Yeah.
something we want. But the thing of it is, like tonight, I had told Monique and Liz, I said, well, I'm going live with Red tonight. I said, maybe that'd be to break this funk that I've been in and get back to do what he wants me to do. But I'm going to tell you guys, when I got up and took my shower and I got out of that shower, I felt sick. I felt sweaty.
No, I
I,
always feel good when I come out of the shower.
I mean, no, but I felt, and I was like, oh no, not now. That I am not going to do this. And then I sick at my stomach, and then I come in here, then my voice went out and I'm like, no. And then my computer I said, oh no, no, no. So I restarted my computer. It's like everything that could be tried to stop me tonight from doing what I'm doing right now. It's like everything tried to stop what we're doing right here.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, and I'm wondering. I feel like maybe this I'm having a battle about. I definitely was having a battle to leave Georgia, but um, I'm feeling this thing with going to courtside because I really feel like that God wants me to go. So I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna keep pressing on with it, and it's like, okay, so maybe it's gonna be $1,000 for me to get a tow hitch on
yeah,
my RAV. That's ridiculous. Well, I sent I wanted to help um, Lindy with gas money and stuff for her trip. She's driving 14 hours by her, or 12, 13, 14 hours by herself, and she's 75 years old. And but she didn't need it because I think other people are, so she sent it back. So, and I think, you know, God wants me to go to courtside this time. I don't think you really wanted me to go last year. And so that worked out.
So, yeah. So for whatever reason, there's got to be something good tonight because, we're not battled against doing something good. We're when there's going to be a movement that God wants somebody to hear, or when He wants to use us for anything, we just have to pray about it and just to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Ark. Okay.
Hi, Nora. It's Nora.
All right. Hello. But now, I have a
There's verses on where they cast lots, Monique. And there's also a verse on judge not lest you be judged. I'm sorry. I didn't want any more disruption. I'm sorry I timed you out for a minute, but yeah, I battle with, God, you can't say what you think God is saying to me, that God is saying, why am I listening to a coin? That was actually a pastor that told me that. That was a pastor in Georgia. Not a perfect pastor. No, he's not perfect either. But yeah, he said that's fine. They casted lots when they had to replace. I know the Bible inside out, upside down, backwards. I'm sorry. I'm not being proud, but I just do. When they were picking the apostle to replace Judas, when Judas killed himself, they cast lots. That's the same thing as flipping a coin, Monique. It's not evil. I'm not slapping God in the face. I'm not trusting him. God's not up there saying, why is she doing that? Why won't she listen to me? No, he was doing that. He wasn't even saying that when I wasn't listening to him, Monique. He was saying, this is what I realized he was saying. When I was away from him, he was saying, Red, I love you so much. Come back to me. Didn't you see I'm arranging all of these things for you? And I finally saw it when he arranged the concert for me in St. Louis. I wasn't even supposed to be in St. Louis. I was going to be down in Georgia, So yeah, he doesn't talk to me that way, the way you were saying in the chat. And that's why I timed you out, and I apologize, but I'm going to say my poem and we're going to be done. Thanks so much, Darlene. Thanks so much.
Thank you for getting me up. And, like I said, hopefully this will get me. I used to get on at 8:00, and then it started being 11. So 11, 12, 1. I might could try to get on at 11 tomorrow, but at least I got makeup on. I just want to wash it off tonight. I've done had my shower, so all right. But do your poem, and we'll wrap it up.
You say that no one cares for you? Well, that's not true, because I do, and God does too. Oh, that I could fix your problem. I'd mend you up. You'd no longer be stuck in that addiction or depression, the trials that come in rapid succession. But what can I do? I cannot fix you. I can't make you believe or even relieve that deep ache in your heart. Just where do I start? Don't do nothing, she yelled at me. Well, what should I do? Scream and shout and run about? Perhaps sit and pout? No, I'll fight a war upon my knees, and quietness and confidence shall be my strength. He keeps my prayers and my tears. Perhaps the overflow makes the rain to water all the pain upon the earth. I'll thank him for this thorn. I'll praise him even when I'm worn, 'cause he carries me through this storm. He walks to me on the tempest sea. The rain brings life back to my dying tree. And one day through the clouds, I'll see the rainbow.
I like that.
Thanks. Thanks so much.
All right, now I go by Eastern time, you guys.
Yeah, it's late.
Yeah, I go by Eastern time. So right now my time is 10:35.
Yeah.
So that would be 11 o'clock in Colorado. Is what? Is there 3 hours different or 2?
It's only 8:30 here.
Okay, so you guys are 2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours earlier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're 10.
You're 10:35. It's 8:35 here.
Yeah, so you guys are behind us 2 hours.
Yeah, we're earlier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you so much for having me on here, and
Yes, thanks for being on here.
I hope to see some of you guys, jumping in. And yeah, she's in California, so yeah, it's even earlier out here.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
But
7:36 out there.
it was nice meeting all you guys. Thank you, Red, for having
Thank
me.
you. Thanks for. There's a lot of your people. Good night, everybody. Good night. Thanks for coming in. We'll see you next week. I should be about to go to courtside next Monday night. Good night.
Bye, you guys.
Pray for Red. Red will pray for you.
Amen.
Good night, Anthony. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Lori. Thanks, Denise. Good night.